Hi, welcome to your business succession strategy. This is a really good topic for business owners, one that they're always asking me about when we go on meetings and we're talking with them about what's your exit strategy, what's your business succession strategy. For some business owners, they've got it figured out. They have adult children working for them, and it's a little bit of mentoring. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some insights that you may have not thought of, and so this will be really useful for you. If you're a new business owner or a young business with young children, you're definitely going to want to watch this video to help shape that whole process for you. So let's get right into this right now. Get some paper out if you want to take some notes. Of course, you can watch this video as often as you like. Please, if you love this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'd be greatly appreciating that. So let's dig into this right now with some great information. All right, great. So now let's have a quick introduction to what is going on right now. You know, baby boomers were born between the ages of 1946 and 1964. So they're around about 57 years of age to 75 years of age. And so they're kind of in this sweet spot where they're really close to retirement, or already, if you're 75 years old, I hope you're thinking about retirement in your business. But hey, if you love what you do and you're young at heart, have at it, keep going. But you do have to think about what is your exit strategy. And so that exit strategy is what we're going to talk about today. That age group makes up almost 10 million people in Canada. So it's quite a bit. How big is it actually? About 5,000 business owners or 5,000 baby boomers are retiring every single week. It really translates to 250,000 retirees. So you think about, is this a small subject? No way. This is a huge subject for business owners. There's so many of them going to be retiring. This is a significant issue. And as advisors, that's where we have to be there for you to help you work through that, to give you all the data you need, to introduce you to the right accountants, the right lawyers. And you know, we've had so many people go through succession strategies. We can tell you a lot of stories and what to look out for and what are some great processes as well. Well, here's the $1 million question. Are your kids ready to take over your business? So that's not an easy question to answer for some of you. Some of you who are 40 years of age, your kids are definitely not ready to take over your business. And the ones who are already in their 60s, quite possibly, you know, they couldn't be in their, maybe they're 40 years old or approaching 40 years old. So those people definitely have the age, if you will, but they may not have all the business experience that you're hoping that they would need. So maybe a little bit more time would be useful, but we're going to dig into that. So again, your kids might be too young right now to even think about this. And if they are old enough, well, then you need to start thinking about having a succession strategy discussion with them. Now, it may take months for let's say your child is an adult child and they're working in the business with you right now. It may take many, many months, perhaps even years for them to be ready to actually take over the business. It may not be about money. It might just be about experience and maturity. But let's talk about where you can actually begin. So the first thing that I want you to think about is your shared vision. As a couple, you know, a husband and wife, let's say, owning a business, and they may have completely different ideas about the business. You know, I went on some discussion meetings with some clients, and the husband and wife had completely two different views about the business. One wanted to actually sell the business to their kids, to have them take over the business. And the other one was saying, absolutely not. I don't want them to be involved in this business at all. I want them to chase their own dreams and what they're excited about. I don't want to put that pressure on them. So that in itself was a huge wake-up call to this couple about, well, what are we going to do about that? So that led to a lot of other discussions because, you know, if you don't have that figured out, it can be really a problem. So the whole issue here is if that is not settled, you've got a huge dilemma on your hands and you need to figure it out. I don't want to say right away. It really depends on, you know, when you actually want to exit your business and how old are the kids. So you may have some time on your hand to sort that out. But why I say this is very important for you to figure out is because the direction that you take, whether you're going to sell to your like a family member, can be very different than selling to someone outside of the business. So let's talk about just some for instances, if you will. If you're selling to a family member, so an adult child, okay, you might be willing to accept installment payments over many years to make it easier for the kids to actually buy the business from you. And, that's actually a good thing. You could postpone some of the taxes you might have to pay on the sale of the business if it's coming in year over year. If you're selling to a non-family member, well, that payment is going to be received to you when you sign on the dotted line, so to speak. So that's not really the most beneficial way for you to receive the money all in one shot in 1 year. But either way, you have to figure out what is going to be your strategy. Each strategy or each path that you take requires a different set of tax mitigation strategies. So this is why it's important that you actually have great counsel around you. So for example, you have share sale, you have asset sale, and then you have a hybrid of both. And so each one of those different ways of buying and selling a business has its own benefits, has its own drawbacks, and it's really going to depend on who you're selling to, right? You want to create an advisory board. This is really easy to do, and I'm going to lead you now through with who you might want to put on that advisory board. Certainly you want to talk to the bank. The bank has been used to you and your partner in the business. They have confidence in you, and now you're going to tell them, hey, our kids are going to take over the business. This is how it's going to happen. They're actually going to buy the business, or it's going to happen through, after you pass away, they'd be inheriting the business. But it's important that the bank understands what your plans are so that they can now give them some time to figure out, okay, how can we help you through this? Probably one of the things would be to meet your children and talk to them about the business and so on. So that's important to talk to the bank. The next would be you're going to need a lawyer and you're going to need an accountant. And it's really important to choose a lawyer and an accountant that has some actual experience in buying and selling businesses. You want to be kind to people and give them business, but this is your livelihood, and you want to make sure that you're doing it the best way. I can recall actually a situation. It wasn't a business, so to speak, but this family were doing land banking. They had bought land, and in this particular case, it came time that they were going to sell the land, and they were brothers that had bought the land, and the oldest brother said, well, we're going to use my accountant. I've been using him for years. And that's fine. They got an opinion from that accountant, and that accountant told them that they'd have to pay $81,000 in taxes. So at least good enough that the older brother was willing to listen to the younger brother, and the younger brother said, would it be all right if I asked my accountant what their opinion is? Their opinion came in and said it was half of the taxes. So instead of $81,000, it was only going to be $40,000. That's a lot of money, right? This is 50% of a complete difference. How is it possible that one accountant says one number and the other accountant says the other number? And it's really about their education, their experience. One had more experience in selling land and knew exactly how that needed to be reported to Revenue Canada. And you know what? The younger brother's accountant was absolutely 100% spot on. Saved them half of the amount of money going to Revenue Canada. So that's a simple example of how useful it is to find the right counsel. Of course, an advisor. Now, I'm biased here. I'd want you to come to me, of course, but the idea is you want to go to an advisor because they're going to be able to give you a lot of data about how all of the decisions you're making is actually going to impact your financial security going forward. The conversation. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a lot of fun. I say that tongue in cheek a little bit because, it's going to go either way here. You're going to have a conversation with your kids, and they were probably dreading the day of when you were going to say, hey, would you be interested in taking over? And so that conversation, you got to be ready for what might happen. So first of all, treat it like any other discussion. If you were going to go sell the business to anybody outside of the business, you would want to pick a date, pick a time, pick a place where it's going to be convenient for everybody. You're going to have some privacy, and you can actually share some of the most detailed information that you need to when you're selling a business to someone in an environment where you can talk. That's the first thing. Now, add in your family members to that equation and realize that things might get a little bit heated, especially when maybe your kids don't share the same vision. They don't have the same enthusiasm that you do for your business. So this is what you have to be prepared for. But be prepared for the conversation to unfold in a way that you probably, didn't expect. Or maybe you did, but you were thinking this could get a little bit uncomfortable for everybody. It's what I call uncharted territory. So think about this. If the kids are on board and they're excited about their future, that conversation is going to go pretty well, like smoothly. In fact, it's going to be easy for you, easy for them, and you'll be able to do some planning that's pretty easy. When I say pretty easy, it just means that there's no roadblocks from them from a point of view of saying, I'm not sure I want to do this. Everything else just takes regular planning. Or the worst thing for you to have to experience is going to be going through a conversation with your kids where, man, oh man, it's going to be, when we say raw, it's got to be an open conversation, right? You're turning over the keys to something that you've been pouring everything into emotionally, financially, your time, everything that you ever wanted to do and achieve is into this business. And now you're going to say, here you go. Would you like to take over this business? And I have to tell you, those kids may not be prepared for that. They may not be ready for it. And you have to understand it's a delicate conversation. So one of the things that I want you to do is not take it personally. This is really important. I want you to think about it because it's so easy, because it's your business, right? I think of it like when somebody complains, does a complaint about your business, and you get really uptight about it, really upset about it, and you're like, want to defend the integrity of your business because you work at such a high level and you want to give the best possible product and experience to your customers. And when you get a complaint, it's really disappointing, and sometimes you could take it personally. You got to think about this too. When you're talking to your kids might have a completely different view of your business. I want you to think about the times that you were growing your business and when it didn't go so well. Were your kids around when you came home at night and, in a moment of weakness, you shared your emotion of being frustrated, about being afraid or fearful or concerned about you being able to provide financial security to your family, of when things got really, really tough and they heard you talking about some of the financial problems. Not every business just goes, vertically straight up. There's a lot of things that go on, and you know what I'm talking about. It's not easy to shield your kids from that kind of environment and discussions. So they have grown up seeing you struggle, and it's not a bad thing, right? Because you want them to grow up and see that business is not always going to be a straight line. You have to know how to figure out adversity, and that strengthens your character. But growing up as a young person and seeing that, they don't see adversity as being strengthening character. They see it as being like a very fearful thing, a scary thing for them. So sometimes it's really just about helping them to shape, what their idea of business is in their head because of what they witnessed all those years. And so I want you to understand that this is going to be a delicate conversation. They may see your business as being a stressful thing. I know in my own profession, my own kids, they look at this and go, you have to go and talk to people about their money. You have to ask them, how much money do you have? Or if you're going to do life insurance, you ask them about their medical conditions, their medical history. You have to talk to them about when they went to the doctor last and what it was for. Those are very things that a lot of people have difficulty talking about. And so, my own kids would say, I don't know if I could do that kind of work. So I want you to think about your own business and think about whether or not your kids have a different idea about your own business. They also might have a very different vision for your business than you do. I want you to think about what you were thinking of your business, and, if you were thinking about some, huge legacy, they might come in and see your business going in a completely different direction than what you thought of. That might not be easy for you to handle. So if there is any issues at all, if things get a little heated, as they might They might do. It's okay to get professional help, especially if you have to deal with some of the underlying issues, the things that are making them feel fearful. It might be, I know you weren't thinking about this video as being a family therapy session, but the way that you worked all these years and built a business, your kids were like flies in the wall, and they heard and saw everything going on. Don't think at all for 1 second that they don't hear it and they don't see it. They have heard and seen things, and they're kind of like thinking it's shaped the way they are, their insecurities, their confidence. And that might be one of the reasons why they're thinking, maybe I shouldn't take over the business. Even if it's a great business right now, they might not be thinking too confidently, and that's something you need to consider. You may have a huge legacy about your business that you wanted to have it grow into such a this and this and this, and your kid might be thinking, I have a different idea in mind. I see it going in this direction because your company, your business was built in an era where there was really no digital business. There was no e-commerce. There was no social media. And those things are so important to businesses now that they might have a completely different vision of how your business could move forward. And either you're going to be on board with it, or you could be looking at saying, that is an awesome idea. How can I support you? That kind of thing. So letting go and allowing your child to move the business in a new direction, it might not be easy for you. And that's something that you're thinking about your kids not being ready. You might not be ready for it as well. Succession guilt. This is a huge thing that I talk to parents about, is to make sure that you have a conversation about, is your child really interested in your business? Are they taking over the business because of like feeling guilty, they have to do it, or they feel pressure to take over the business? I want you to think of when you've heard, families say, well, this business has been in our family for over 80 years. The pressure that must go into the thinking of that child, of thinking like, how can I let my family down? How can I just walk away from something that's been in this family for so long? Grandfather and parents and now me. How can I just let it go? There would be so many generations being disappointed if I say no to this. Can you imagine the pressure that they're under? So when you have that conversation with them, I want you to consider just being open with them and saying, it's okay to say no. It's okay for you to tell me exactly how you feel. That are you taking this out of maybe feeling pressure like you have to? Because it's so important. Because if they take the business unwillingly, well, my goodness, that means you're going to have to stick around. If their whole heart and their passion isn't into this business, you're going to notice it. They're just not going to be moving the business forward with the same enthusiasm that you do. And so you're going to have to stick around and advise them until they're in a position where they feel like, okay, I can handle this. This is something I can do for the rest of my life. But it does mean, though, if this is the path that's going to happen, it means you're going to be staying around for a while. You're not retiring. You have the appearance that you're retiring. Oh yeah, our son and daughter, they're taking over the business now, but you're there every day. That's not retirement. That's not how it's supposed to go. Okay, so you're selling the business to your kids, and yeah, you should give them a discount, right? Absolutely not. Now this sounds like, what do you mean you wouldn't give a discount? This is a family. Of course I'm going to just hand the business to my kids, and here you go, a ready-made business. Okay, but unless you've made a fortune of money and you've set it aside and your retirement is not hinged to the sale of this business, then fine. You've got enough money, and if you want to give it to your kids, that's your prerogative. But many business owners that I talk with, that's not the case. They are really counting on this money for their retirement. It's part of their retirement strategy. They've been working on it for years. You need to think about this money as being the keys to your happiness, the key to your financial freedom in retirement. Especially, you might have some projects that you want to take on once you're retired. I know so many people who are retired that they're not just sitting with the clicker in their hand watching the next baseball game or hockey game. They have plans for retirement. They actually want to be active. They want to get involved in some kind of business that they always wanted to do. They don't see retirement as put my feet up. They see retirement as being my chance to do this now. Now that I don't have this heavy weight of this business on my shoulders anymore, I'm free to pursue something that's going to be so much fun and awesome to do during retirement. And they need the cash. So you think about that. You can't afford to give a discount to your kids because they're buying it. But what's very common is that you might accept installment payments over several years. This is very common when businesses are being sold to family members. Now, there are some pros to that. Obviously, it can be some advantages with taxation. And it's easier for the kids to purchase when they know they don't have to come up with $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, boom, all at one shot, right? If they knew that it was installment payments over time, it's easier for them. It's easier on the business from a cash flow point of view. So those are great things for your kids to be able to afford to give them that kind of gift, if you will, to pay over time. But the cons to this are you're always going to be worried about the business. If you don't have all of your money, and that is the thing that's really securing your financial retirement, then you're always going to be worried about, are they actually doing a good job of the business? Are they running it poorly? Which is going to potentially place the money that you would have received in the future in jeopardy. And that's no way to be in retirement, constantly thinking about what is the health of this business and how are my kids running it. The other thing too is about divorce. It's over 50% divorce rate, right? And so you got to think about, what if your kids, God forbid, end up getting a divorce? How would that affect your payments going forward? Would they have to sell the business in order to, pay off the other spouse? Would they have to raise capital in order to pay out the divorced spouse? These are all things that could put a lot of pressure on the cash flow of the business, and they may not be able to pay you as much, or they might have to defer payments to you. So these things are in that mix when you go ahead and do installment payments for your kids. One last thought about selling the business to your kids. If your kids are old enough right now to work in the business, I would strongly advise you to get them involved in the business. And I mean get them involved. Get them involved in every part of that business, just as you did when you first started that business. Do you remember when you were starting your business, you wore all kinds of hats, right? And so they should actually, especially if you have a really thriving business, I don't think you should just put them in a position in the board and for them to not really understand your business. I think you should have them work everywhere in the business. Get a sense of what makes this business work. What are all the gears and how do they interact with one another that produces this kind of fantastic business? And I think it's not only just for their own benefit, but think about the other things that come with that. The employees need to see your kids as being the heirs to this business. And there's nothing more that just festers in a business when employees kind of resent that the younger kid takes over the business and he's got a silver spoon or she's got a silver spoon, and they really don't know the business and they're taking over. They have this almost resentment in some cases because they feel like they don't deserve that authority, if you will. And so what it does is it gives time for the adult child to develop relationships with the people in your business. Those employees that are eventually going to report to them, give them time to work with them. Get some time for those employees to see the kind of character, the work ethic. Those things are so important because when it comes time to have there's no power struggle, you want those people to respect your kids, to know that they understand, they know exactly what's going on, that they respect the kind of work that those employees do, that the kind of challenges that they face, that they're not just simply being, airmailed into that position and all of a sudden they run a business. And it's very important. So it's not just about respect, it's also about your children understanding how your business works. And the last thing is, I want you to think about, if you were to sell your business outside, to someone outside of the family, what would they likely do? They'd probably say, would you mind staying on for 3 months and just being in an advisory capacity just to make sure that like our relationship with the vendors are okay, that we understand how the business processes are working. Could you stick around? You would probably say yes. That would be part of the negotiation in the sale of the business. Well, wouldn't that be the same if your children were taking over the business? Would you just say, thank you very much, and off you go on your boat to Florida? No, you would stick around to do the same thing that you would do for an outside person. So I want you to consider that your kids need mentoring. They need a lot of your confidence and your support, and they absolutely, you need to be patient with them because they're also feeling the weight of taking on something that you cared about so deeply, and they want to make you proud. They want to make sure that they're doing a good job, not just for themselves, but they really want you to see them doing a good job. So I want you to have a little patience with them. I hope you got a lot out of this video. Business succession planning, these discussions are always a lot of fun. It takes a little bit of time and effort, and there are really a lot of open-ended questions when you're talking in an advisory setting. There's a lot of things that you go into that you just like open-ended conversation. What would happen if this happened? And you just start talking. And those things lead to processes, and those processes lead to a lot of anxieties being lowered. You actually feel like you can take on a business succession strategy. So well done. If you have any questions, please put your comments down below. I want to hear from you what you think of this content. I want to hear about any questions you might have around business succession or business in general. And again, hit that like button and please follow us. Looking forward to seeing you on all the other lessons and videos that we give on our channel. And thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon.